My guests are Heather Morrison and Amanda Babcock from the Canadian Museum of Women's History. I am so glad you came in today. I've been so looking forward to this.
Thank you, Donna. Happy to be here.
Yeah, of course, I went through, the women's movement in the 70s, 80s, and so on. So, yeah, I'm really interested in hearing more. You've got a big event coming up. Do you want to tell me about that, Amanda?
We do. We have been working very hard on an event that we are so excited about. It's right here in Kingston to celebrate Women's History Month in October. On the 5th, we are having a pop-up museum event called HERstory. It's going to be at City Hall in Memorial Hall from 9 to 4, and we will have organizations from the Kingston community that can showcase their impact on our city. We're really excited, looking forward to it.
That is wonderful. Is there a cost involved in going?
This event is absolutely free for our community.
Wow, that's wonderful. Boy, what a great idea. So, Heather, I went through the women's movement like 50 years ago, so haven't we accomplished everything we need to access?
No.
Short answer,
Would you like
no.
me to expand on that?
Yeah, like what still needs to, what's still going on in the women's movement?
In the women's movement, many things. So in 2001, the last Stats Canada report showed us that there were 50.9% of the population that were women. And still, women are paid 75 to 78 cents on the dollar for their hourly wage. So we haven't done anything about equal pay. I shouldn't say that, to some degree in the federal government there's been some leveling, but across the board, no. That would be the first thing that comes to mind statistically. And then the most recent events in Ontario, we've had a lot of young women, particularly teenage relationships where the young women have been murdered by their partners, and statistically that number continues to grow. So intimate partner violence, the numbers haven't changed, and until we actually are safe in our own homes, we can't say that we've achieved equality.
Good points, absolutely. So this would be a good event for a lot of young women who aren't maybe never heard of the suffragette movement, the second wave movement. Maybe never even heard of it. They thought everything was always the way they always got to go to university, and that's not the way it always was. But how about young boys and men? Should they come to this?
Absolutely. I have 2 kids. I have 1 daughter and 1 son, and this is just as important for him to attend and be a part as it is for my daughter. And that is really one of the big reasons that drew me to the organization, was that I want to show my kids, one, that I'm giving back to the community as well, but also how important the contributions of women are on our community and in society. So I encourage everyone to attend, any age, any gender. Everyone's welcome. And
it's free, and you will get something out of it. You just walk through, you'll get something out of it.
Absolutely.
What can we expect to see?
Well, I think I'll start by saying this organization, the Canadian Museum of Women's History, has a real commitment to truth and reconciliation. And so before we started inviting organizations to come and participate in this event, I went to the Indigenous Language Nest here in Kingston and had a conversation with our operations manager, Linda Giroux, and I asked her if she would be willing to sit on our working committee so that she could help inform the event and teach us at the same time places that we may be coming with a colonial lens. So I think the first thing to know is that we're not just starting at the suffragettes, we're starting at what women were doing before colonization and before Canada, before the land that's now called Canada was in existence. It was a very different form of societal government and responsibility than what we see in a patriarchal society, and that's where our exhibit starts.
Wow, that is really interesting. What was different then? Was it better? Were women more empowered then than they are today, perhaps?
I'm not Indigenous, so I would be hesitant to say I can give an opinion, but come to the event.
Okay.
I can
okay,
tell
fair
you
enough.
that, one of the things I learned in talking with Linda and also Judy Montgomery, who is the lead at the Grandmother's Circle, is that women had a more decision-making role than women do under current patriarchal structures. And so one of the first things that the colonialists did when they came in was attempt to eliminate women's power. And Linda explained to me, in fact, in just a conversation today, that that continues to play out. And so when we see programs and ongoing violence, programs like Missing and Murdered Women and ongoing systemic violence against Indigenous women, those roots trace back to when the colonializers first arrived.
Something that I wonder about, that the wage inequity is still there. And it used to be we were so limited in what we could do. You were a nurse, a teacher, or a secretary, and it was considered a temporary thing until you got married, and then you stayed home, you raised children, and that was the life that we were raised to expect, and what a lot of women of my generation went through. So I'm a little baffled. The educational I think there are as many women in universities as there are men now. More. So why is there still a wage gap?
Well, I think you'd have to look at not just education, but the way that the system is created. So start with who is still the breadwinner in many people's minds and in the systems that we live in. It was set up to be male dominated. So that idea continues throughout society. There are a lot of different aspects to this that I'd love to talk with you about, but I want you to know that in coming to the event, you will meet many different groups. So the Sisters of Providence are coming to tell their history.
Right.
Sexual Assault Centers coming to talk about their history in Kingston, but also how they've shifted over time away from family violence and sexual assault, that language, to talk about gender violence. So there's a really great history lesson, a HERstory lesson to be picked up through this process. As I was mentioning to you earlier, I'm doing a PhD in education, and my area of focus is public pedagogy. What you do here in your role is public pedagogy. So all the things that we teach and learn outside the school system, whether that be public school, universities, colleges, but museums are part of that system of public pedagogy. And so in some ways, because our institutions, our current institutions, have deep roots in a patriarchal system, including our school system, the voices of women and their stories are kind of pushed to the edges. And an institution like the Canadian Museum of Women's History is actually helping to strengthen democracy in the country, because true democracy means equality for all people, regardless of sex, gender, age, religion, color, creed, all the things that the Charter lays out for us. And until we have an institution like this in Canada, I can't feel strongly in my research or state strongly that we're truly a democracy. Just as an example, there are 60 women's museums in the world, and Canada has 0 of those.
Really?
And has
this is
never
the
had one.
first. I had no idea. Will you eventually have your own museum?
Yes, we will.
Oh, tell me about that.
Heather's been working very hard to bring this dream to life. And one of the stepping stones is this incredible event that we have in October. It's the very first event for the museum.
Maybe I'll just talk a little bit about building an organization. So this was an idea that came to me while I was doing my master's at Queen's in and around the pandemic, maybe a little earlier. But I was sitting in the library at the education department and looking out the window and started to feel sorry for myself. But across the street, I saw P4W, the prison for women. And all of a sudden I thought, really, like metaphorically and in a real sense, it's a very short distance between those women's experience and mine. like it's across the street. They could be looking out the window at me, but it's a world apart.
Yes, I guess we knew that the pandemic would someday end. It seemed like it wasn't going to, but it did eventually, and you know that their lives they'll always be in a prison of one sort or another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so from there, I thought, what are we doing with that building? We should do something with it.
Okay, so that's this is exciting. So this is coming up the 5th of October. Is that a Saturday?
It is a Saturday.
It's a Saturday, 9 to 4.
9 to 4.
Memorial Hall at City Hall, so it's up on the 2nd floor. But it's worth going just to see that room. If you've never been in Memorial Hall, it is breathtaking. So it's worth it even for that. But do come and see this. This sounds free. It's free. No
It's
cost.
absolutely free.
Open to everybody. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it, and I know you're excited about it.
We're very excited.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for
you.
having us.